All right, Chris Popper here in Bangor. I'm joined by Superintendent Michael Eastman from RSU 24 down in Sullivan. And Superintendent Eastman, you guys are in a pickle. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, good morning, Chris, and thank you for talking with me this morning. Yes, we're definitely in a pickle. It's a deeply frustrating situation that is unsettling because we really don't have any control over it. We're at the mercy of other people that are sort of overseeing the project and have to sign off on it. So currently, I see two issues. One is that we're working towards a temporary certificate of occupancy. The code enforcement officer for Sullivan is Mike Gertler. I've been working closely with him, and so he did an inspection on September 3rd, and that resulted in 30 issues that needed to be addressed, 30 deficiencies, and so we worked hard. Most of them were Nickerson O'Day deficiencies. They're our general contractor. We worked hard to get to a situation where we could have another inspection last week. One of the items that was on the list was a signed agreement about the water issue that we have going on. So they wanted a signed agreement of a solution, a permanent solution. And so we received that agreement at 3:45 on Friday afternoon from Nickerson O'Day. And obviously that didn't give us any time to look on Friday. It's a pretty lengthy process to review those proposals. And so we weren't able to do anything with it Friday afternoon. Yesterday, there was a response from the architect.
Hang on, just so we got everybody. Yesterday was Monday, September 12th.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, yesterday the architect reviewed with DOE and sent it back to Nickerson O'Day with some suggested edits, which would be reductions. The proposed price was $750,000, and that's obviously not acceptable. And especially when you're talking about taxpayer money. And so we're in limbo waiting for that particular piece to be addressed. And the second issue, if you will, is the water issue. I know a lot of people want to blame our situation on the water issue, but in the end, Nickerson O'Day, the general contractor, did not meet its obligation to turn the building over to us in mid-July. And they sort of gave us deadlines, but weren't able to meet them all the way along. And so that has been a huge issue that's not connected to the water. But there is an issue with the water. The Long Pond Water District, which is in Sullivan here and provides our water to the building, indicated, first of all, I should say back in 2019, they gave a letter to serve. So they said that they could handle providing water to the school district. But then just this past July, we received official notification that they, in fact, couldn't provide water to the school at the level that we needed it. So that's created quite the quandary for those involved. And it is something that needs to be addressed, and we are in the process of addressing it. A side issue important to mention is we also received notice from the code enforcement officer for the town of Sullivan that without a fire mitigation plan, we are not allowed in the old building at all. So we really have no place that we can call home at this point.
All right. So just so we're talking about and make sure everybody's clear about the water issue in the new building. Apparently, you need to have the capability of providing sprinkler system for nonstop water for 60 minutes. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there's a bit of confusion. What I will say is that there is a sprinkler system. It has been tested, and it will work. If there was a fire in a room, it would work. What's being requested is that it handle more than just one. As a matter of fact, I believe it's being requested that all the sprinklers are able to go off at one time, and that would be a catastrophic event that really I don't think we would see. So there is the availability of water, but it is taxed for sure.
Okay. So the mitigation plan, as I read it, called for a fire watch. And so you would have to pay a firefighter to babysit the school. And then you would not be able to have anybody outside of the school attend. So no parents, no outside consultants, anybody would not be able, outside of teachers and students, would not be able to go into the school. And also you couldn't eat in the cafeteria, couldn't use the gym, couldn't use the auditorium all of that. Is that correct?
So the only part I would address that isn't accurate is the fire watcher doesn't have to be a firefighter. We've
Okay.
worked with a code enforcement officer, and we're planning initially to handle it internally with some training with some of our staff members that will be up there. But all other things that you mentioned, yes, they have said no public are allowed in the building. The cafeteria is off limits. I'm hopeful that if we get our students in there, or once we get our students in there, we can work on some of those spaces. There's 2 music rooms that are off limits, and the 2 shop classes, technology classrooms, are not accessible to us either. So we've got some work to do after we get in the building.
Okay. So at this stage, today is September 13th. No teachers have been in the building to set up classrooms. You were supposed to start school when? Was it after Labor Day or?
Yeah, the Tuesday after Labor Day was our initial start date, and that was actually pushing it out a week because construction was delayed. So we did push it out a week to Tuesday, September 6th initially.
Okay, so now what are we doing? I mean, you don't have a school.
No.
There are kids grades 6 through 12 that, what are we doing? What's the plan?
It's a really good question, and I just want to say, as a parent, I do have a student that's going into the school, but a superintendent as well. I share in the deep frustration of not having these kids in school. It is absolutely ridiculous that we are being held hostage in this situation. I know that people are just trying to do their job, but I question the sort of the commonsensical aspect of it. And honestly, we just put out notice. You may have seen we just put out a post that we will not have school tomorrow as was planned, because we had planned to have teachers in yesterday and today. So I have a meeting scheduled this morning with the leadership team to figure out next steps. I do also have, I've been in contact with the Commissioner of Education, Pender Macon, and she is trying to do some things behind the scenes to see if we can expedite this. And so honestly, right now, I don't have a complete answer to that. What I can say is that we're working as hard as possible. This, the pandemic was difficult. This is much worse than the pandemic. It's unsettling. The fluidity and the lack of certainty in this process has really been troubling.
Given the fact that you've had, I don't want to say success using remote technology, because it was a Band-Aid at best. But is there thought that you might go remote so that way the kids can start the 2022 school year?
Yeah, I shudder to acknowledge that, but there is a possibility that we do go remote. Again, I'm waiting for answers today. I have the meeting with the leadership team. I'm expecting to hear back from the code enforcement officer, Mike Gertler, and I'm also expecting to hear back from the commissioner. So it most likely will be an afternoon, evening decision. If we are to do something different, then I will say that it's not realistic to bring students back this week, because as you pointed out, the totes are packed and they're in the classroom. They're not ready. Teachers are not ready, and it's not fair to them. So my guess is Monday at the earliest, we will be doing something, whether it's remote or having teachers in the building and then students a few days later.
Yeah, I mean, my wife was part of, she teaches in Nokomis, and they were in kind of a similar situation where the totes were packed and the teachers couldn't get in, and the senior on the high school, they were in the old building, but you can't even use the old building. I mean, technically, the old building's more unsafe than the new building.
Yes. We had a third party inspection done, and the deficiencies in the old building far outweigh the deficiencies in the new building. And so, yes, you're right. Our teachers, they're in limbo. They don't have a place they can call home at this point. In the end, I would be remiss if I didn't mention, I feel horrible for our seniors. If you look back over their 4 years, they're going into their senior year. Every year has been impacted by something, and it's just not fair to students. And so we are working expeditiously to try and find a solution to get us in the building as soon as possible.
What do you say to parents? I mean, what can parents do? Is there anything the parents can do other than sit tight and say a prayer? I mean,
Yeah. I don't really Is there something they could do? No. Technically, we've got the code enforcement officer that needs to sign off on this temporary certificate of occupancy that will get us in the building. Then we will work to get the remaining part of the building in our possession. We've got a water solution that we've got to figure out, and we're working on that. And as I said previously, I share in their frustration. This is truly one of the most frustrating, and I've been at this almost 30 years, and one of the most frustrating things that I've had to experience. And what it just drives me nuts is that it's students and parents that are being held hostage in this situation to a process that we as a school district, we have no control over. We're depending on all these other people, agencies and companies to get us in the building. And it's just, we're not there, that's for sure.
Obviously, I would assume Nickerson O'Day is working as expeditiously as they can to get this resolved. I mean, there must be some kind of penalty clause involved in this, and maybe you can't talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I will say that Nickerson O'Day would be the one to comment on that, and the contract does call for penalties, yes.
Okay. Anything, what are we doing about food for kids at this point? I mean, are they, because school's not in session, are they being fed, or where are we with feeding schools, kids breakfast and lunch?
Yeah, so at this point, grades 6 through 12 are not accessing the nutrition program that we have in our school. Obviously, as soon as we get in the building, we will do that. We will probably include that in our conversation today about if we do have to do something other than get into the building, what do we need to do to address the nutrition part of it? Although we have some resources, the level of resources that were available during COVID aren't there. And so we certainly would have some work to do on our end to make that happen.
Do you not have capability? I mean, the Peninsula School, Cave Hill, the other schools, can you not break it up? And I mean, I know it'd just be a logistic nightmare, but can you not move 6 through 8 someplace and start 9 through 12? I mean, just
Yeah, so
divvy it up?
that's a really good question. I will tell you that when the leadership team met, and I stand firmly behind this, we wanted as little impact as possible on our pre-K through 5 population. We felt, given the age level and the developmental needs, that sort of bouncing around between ideas of putting middle school down there and bringing them out, and the timing of that was not. We were not behind that at all. We wanted to protect the importance of the pre-K through 5 education, and so logistically, I don't see an option. I again shudder to think of remote, but that may very well be the only option that we have to get us started, because we're required by law to provide 175 days of education, and at this point we are down, I want to say 6 days. And I know one of the questions I do get from parents is how we make
will
these
there be
days
a
up.
waiver? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had a conversation with the commissioner, and I've also had a conversation with the deputy commissioner, Dan Chuda, and we've talked about a waiver. The waiver has to be requested by the RSU 24 board, which we will do. We have to have some idea of how many days we're talking about, and I don't believe they'll just give us a blanket waiver for every day missed. We're going to have to do some things creatively that would allow us to get things accomplished sooner rather than later. One of the things that's in statute is you can add an hour to each day, and after 5 days, it counts as a missed school day. And so we certainly will be thinking creatively on how to best address that.
What a nightmare. What a nightmare.
Yeah, sure is.
All right, let's stay in touch. Anything you want to add that I haven't brought up?
No, I don't think so. I just would reiterate for probably the 3rd or 4th time, I share in the frustration. We're doing our best to find a solution, and it changes like hourly where we're at. And there are just a lot of people that are involved. Decisions that can be made expeditiously are often they're taking hours or days. And so we'll do our best to communicate with staff, and hopefully staff, students, and families, and hopefully have a letter out this afternoon.
Okay. All right. At this stage then, so to wrap it up, the earliest that kids are going to go back to school would be Monday, the 19th, in person. And there may in fact be remote learning, but everything is still up in the air.
Yes, everything is still up in the air. That's the best way to summarize it.
All right, not a good A. Michael, thank you. We'll stay in touch and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Take care of yourself.